Mr. President, have you thought about or considered leading the dismissal of the special counsel? Or is there anything that Bob Mueller could do that would send you in that direction?
I haven't given it any thought. I mean, I've been reading about it from you people. You say, oh, I'm going to dismiss him. No, I'm not dismissing anybody. I mean, I want them to get on with the task. But I also want the Senate and the House to come out with their findings. Now, judging from the people leaving the meetings, leaks, but they leave the meetings all the time and they say, no, we haven't found any collusion. There is no collusion. You know why? Because I don't speak to Russians. Look, I won because I suppose I was a much better candidate than her.
There you have it from yesterday. No plans to fire the special counsel Robert Mueller, also repeating no collusion with Moscow. Doug Schoen, Fox News contributor, former advisor to Bill Clinton. Nan Hayworth, former New York Congresswoman and an Independent Women's Forum board. Hello to both of
Bill.
you.
Good morning, Bill.
I've got a bunch of stuff on my mind.
Sure.
Can we just motor through this?
Absolutely.
What do you think those comments suggest when you think about his chief counsel, John Dowd, telling reporters earlier in the week that he's been sending messages to Robert Mueller saying, you're doing a great job, stay at it?
I think it indicates confidence, and the president has contended from the start that there's nothing there, and I think that this is a sign that he feels the process is going to work out.
Represents good legal strategy, because the worst thing you can do is attack a prosecutor, especially someone who can bring charges. And given Donald Trump's sometimes adversarial approach, both with Jim Comey and indeed his own staff, lowering the tone makes sense in an investigation like this.
But to your point, Nat, normally someone would take a question like that and say, I'm not going to talk about it.
Right. Not the president's style.
Not him.
No. He takes these things on directly.
Okay, topic for you, Doug. Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Sure.
I don't know what's happening with this IT investigation. I think there's a lot more to unwind. But now you're hearing from a lot more Democrats, like Nikki Barnes in Florida said this, DNC member. We wish she would go away and stop being so public by doubling down on negative stories. Unfortunately, Debbie's name does not scream trust. It screams power. It screams limited access. It screams WikiLeaks now, DNC lawsuit. It screams a lot of negative things to the public. There's a lot said in there.
Yeah, and it's all true.
True.
Yeah, I think so. Look, Debbie Wasserman Schultz has got this IT investigation where I guess it was Mr. Amram, went back to Pakistan, tried to go to Pakistan, $283,000 wired there. We have the scandal unfolding. We have her efforts from the emails that came out to basically rig the primaries for Hillary Clinton. I think the best thing for the Democrats is to have her, to have Nancy Pelosi lower their voices and maybe go away, because if the Democrats want to win in swing districts, neither of those two help.
So just query this then.
Please.
How restless is the Democratic base when it comes to their leadership? How much talk is there to say, give us some fresh faces?
Well, there's a lot of talk for fresh faces. For those of us in the center, there's a lot of asking for those leaders to get off the stage, because we're not going to win swing districts, that we need to take the House with people like that fronting the party. And as your comment suggests, Bill, the party is divided. The agenda isn't clear. The party's divided. And Donald Trump and the Republicans, despite all the issues they have, are probably poised to be able to hold the House as things stand now.
So that may be the Democratic swamp, Nan.
Yeah.
Here is now the Republican swamp, as Kimberly Strassel writes in the Wall Street Journal. She's talking about the IRS and the investigation, etc. She shares the following. Donald Trump promised to drain the swamp, and here's a 7-month progress report. The Washington bog is still as wide and fetid as ever. Consider that Mr. Trump's Justice Department has inexplicably continued to defend the IRS's misdeeds under President Obama. End quote. Scathing. What do you think?
I agree with Kimberly. I think the IRS has way too much to answer for, and Mr. Koskinen, frankly, should be gone. And look, this administration has had, that swamp is indeed very wide and very fetid, and I think the president has rightly prioritized at this point, especially legislatively, tax reform from the code on down, obviously, and health care reform. And with the Senate minority able to bottle things up because of the filibuster on cloture approach on legislation, which the president has talked about, Senator McConnell needs to bust that filibuster, and the president's calling for that so that we can actually get health care reform
But
and tax
there's
reform
no sign
passed.
that's going to happen. I think you know that.
But the public needs to understand it, Doug, and they don't fully, and the president's calling attention to it because that's the swamp
Mitch
right
McConnell.
there. Well, he is attacking
Don't run
the
too far
Senate
afield.
process.
Strassel's point is, to this day, no one has answered for the IRS matter. And she
And they
says to
need
this
to.
day,
She's right.
7 months in administration, nothing has changed.
No,
there.
she's right.
She's right. I agree. Look, the IRS under Obama was an outrage, and the Lois Lerner investigation went away. And I think Kimberly Strassel raises a fair point. I say that as a Democrat. We have to be honest and nonpartisan
Yeah.
about
Leave it there.
these.
Thank you, Doug, very
Thank
much.
you.
And great to see you
Thank
as well.
you,
Have a
Bill.
great weekend.
Thank you so
All
much.
right. Shannon, what is next?